Hi guys, it's Granny Tana speaking. Welcome to this FS25 video about differences in the grass growing department from FS22 to FS25. I was checking on how grass growing works in FS25, whether there are differences or not, that I can make a tutorial about growing grass in FS25. And then I saw there are a lot of differences. The basics have stayed the same, but quite a lot is really different. And therefore I thought I first make a video about all the differences and what has stayed the same, and then later I will make a tutorial for beginners. So this video here is not a tutorial that shows you how to grow the grass from the sowing till the end, but this is a check video, so to say. Let's check how grass growing works in FS25. And here I made a list, and you can see what is like FS22. And yeah, more or less all the basics have stayed the same. You can have multiple harvests. In FS25 you can only have 4 harvests per year. In FS22 you could also have 5 harvests if you did it correctly, but multiple harvests stayed the same and grass is growing back. And the sowing, growing and harvesting has stayed more or less the same. You need a mower to mow and things like that. You can still make hay and straw out of the grass. And if you harvest your grass, the ground will be fertilized one time. So you only need to fertilize the grass field for the second fertilizing stage. And if you do rolling or weeding on a freshly mowed grass field, you get another fertilizing stage. That has stayed the same. However, some people said that if they do rolling or weeding on a freshly mowed grass, then their grass didn't grow back. And I tried it, and my grass grew back, so I didn't have this problem, but I wanted to mention this because in a way it could be risky to do rolling or weeding on the freshly mowed grass, because if you are unlucky, it might happen to you that it doesn't grow back. And yeah, so, but what is different? In my opinion, there are quite some important differences between grass growing in FS22 to grass growing in FS25. So the first one is, in FS22 we had 4 different stages of the grass, so to say. First, the day when you sow it or when you have cut it, and then the growing stage, and then the first harvest ready day and the second harvest ready day. And if I say day, I mean month, because I always play with one day per month, and therefore they are equal for me. And I mean month, because if you have several days per month, it is per month and not per day. So, and when you harvested it in the first harvest ready day or month, then you got a less yield than when you waited 1 month longer. and that has disappeared completely. So we don't have this second harvest ready stage now. It is sowing day, growing day, and harvesting day. And then it stays like it was. And we have always the equal yield, no matter whether you harvest it after 2 days after the harvest, after the sowing or the last harvest, or you wait 1 month longer or even longer and longer because the grass doesn't wither. And that makes quite a big difference, but it makes grass growing much easier. Because if you wanted to plan it correctly to get the maximum yield in FS22, you really had to calculate what is best, how often should I mow my grass to get the best yield over the whole year and such. This is, you can all forget about it in FS25. And you can just harvest 4 times a year and you're good to go. You get the maximum yield. So you can increase your yield by fertilizing and such, but from the days that you can harvest, it's much easier now, which is good. And then we have a point that makes it difficult, more difficult, in my opinion at least, because I like to do grass mowing with an attached loading wagon in the back and using the helper. And that is no longer possible. So I try to prepare this for you to show it. So I can already take you with me. And we get the loading wagon and then I can show you what happens. So before it was like that, the helper was so stupid and it didn't knew that it had a loading wagon. When you gave him a loading wagon at the back and you switched it on and lowered it down, then the helper was mowing with its mower and forgetting about the loading wagon completely because it didn't knew there would be or could be a loading wagon, and therefore it didn't change anything about it. But now the helper is much more intelligent and it realizes, oh, there is a loading wagon at my back. Let's lift it up. And then the loading wagon doesn't work at all. So I can show you. I switch it on and I put it down, which is important. And then I activate the helper. And the first thing the helper does is rising the loading wagon. It stays activated, as you can see in this small image, but it doesn't collect anything anymore. And I tried it for quite a while, and I just think it's no more possible to let a helper use a loading wagon while mowing, which I find very, very sad, because that was so easy in a way. And that was the main reason why I started with my TARDIS loading wagon in the first place, because as the helper didn't know there was a loading wagon, when it was full it was just going on mowing. Yeah, and therefore I thought I need a bigger one, and it helped a lot. Yeah, now you can see it has quite some difficulty. Maybe I should free him from the burden of the loading wagon. So you have a couple of choices what to do, or we have a couple of choices. We can either do it all ourselves. then we can use the loading wagon as behind the mower, but then we have to do it all ourselves. Or we can do the mowing with the helper and then maybe with a rather big windrower and then take the loading wagon ourselves. And maybe later there will be cosplay and it will change for PC players who want to use cosplay, but with the new modern helper it doesn't work. Very, very sad, I think. So let's go on. What changes do we have else? So there was a trick that when you did rolling or weeding in November, directly after harvest, the growing stage was set back to stage 1, and then you could harvest in March already again. And therefore you could have 5 harvests per year, from March till November, every second month. And that doesn't work anymore. So if you harvest in November, and no matter whether you use the roller or weeder or not, the grass is harvest ready in May. Not in April, but in May. It doesn't take 1 month longer, but 2 months longer. And if you harvest in October, so only 1 month earlier, then the grass is harvest ready in March. So, in my opinion, it's best not to harvest grass after October. If you need to harvest in November, you have to be aware that your next harvest will only be in May. And so maybe if you start a new save game, it's August, you start sowing your grass in August, then you can harvest in October and in March again. Then you're good to go. And yeah, if you wait till November, it's sad because you won't get the next harvest until May. Yeah, and then I asked myself what would be the best harvesting month, and I found that it doesn't matter so much. You can take 4 months per year from March to November in the end and leave at least 1 month in between, and then you could harvest from on March, May, July, September. Or you can have a break month and you harvest from March, May, and then August, October. And if you are really need to have a harvest in November, next year your first harvest starts in May. And then you're somehow, you can't go back to earlier harvest, or you miss 1 harvest. So if you have, you start with, in the next year after the November harvest, you start with May, then you could harvest in July and September and then have only 3 harvests. You know what I mean? I hope so. Yeah, that's about the differences in grass growing that I found out till now from FS22 to FS25. And I think I will wait for the update that will hopefully come soon, and then I will check it again. Maybe they changed some things. And then, when I know how it will be, I will make not only a grass growing tutorial, but also how to make hay, how to make silage, and all these kinds of things. And baling, round bales, square bales, bunker silo, and so forth. Okay, but that was it about the differences. If you want to buy FS25 now, I would be happy if you use my Oma Tana order link for PCs. The link is in the video description below. This allows me to make the videos earlier. Now I wish you a wonderful day, thank you for watching and all the best till next time. Tschüss!